Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Great Awakening Generator with me, Rose McNair, and today live chat with Ginny Jones. Welcome, Ginny.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be here.
It's always a pleasure to have you. I just love that you have so much of information and so much experience with so many things that we can ask the questions and we are likely to get quite an interesting answer.
Yes.
So everybody, welcome to you, as I said earlier, and I'm saying it again, and thank you for joining us. Remember that you can always put comments in the comments area and ask questions. If we don't answer them now, we can always come back later on and answer them. So, Ginny, there's been a lot happening. How are things going in your world?
Yes, very good. I seem to be doing a lot of house clearings.
Okay.
At the moment, and clearings off of people and realignments, rebalancing. And I think my theory is that there's been a big shift, possibly since the 8-8. I mean, on the 8-8, as we spoke last time, I really felt a huge shift within myself on that day.
Yeah.
But also, I think possibly since then, and of course all the planets are in different positions and moving around and doing their thing. Yeah. I think the frequency of the earth has definitely gone up, and I think it's also causing a shift, but for that shift to be grounded or integrated, it causes people's nervous systems to go up the wops a bit, and to people go a bit wobbly, so needing help. But also in the fourth dimension, where there's earthbound spirits or earthbound entities, I think it's also affecting them, and I think that they're actually searching for people that can help them.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. And that's where I come in with that sort of work, and many other people. It's not just me that does that sort of work, but many other people. But just recently, I've been to so many clearings. I even on my way home earlier had a phone call about someone whose family member is having terrible night terrors and stuff like that. And I must tell you this, actually. I did a clearing the end of last week, and I do all this distantly. I don't need to be there. And it was a little 3-year-old girl that was seeing a man in the garage sitting inside her mum's car. And
wow.
it was freaking her out. And mum contacted me. And of course, the little girl was also scared to go to the toilet on her own and all sorts of other things. Anyway, mum contacted me about it, and I said, yeah, right, I can deal with that. So I did a clearing. There was a man in there, indeed. So I cleared him over to the light, because it's all done in pure love and light. So I literally surround them in love and open the channels, and away they go. Anyway, the mum messaged me the next day. I was so chuffed. Mum messaged me the next day and said that they had to go in the garage for some reason, and the little girl looked in the car and went, "Mummy, the man's gone." So, without mum even saying to her anything about it, she knew that he'd gone, because she could see him.
Yeah, truth out of the mouths of babes.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah.
Well, really good to have her the little girl's confirmation of that, because obviously if she didn't know, and then something and something it had obviously shifted, and so she was the best one to be able to confirm that it had happened, right? Because she'd been seeing it all the time. So I think a lot of, like you're talking about, fourth dimensional spirits, perhaps they too are recognizing that they want to go to the light and not hang about the earth plane and interfere with the spaces they've occupied here on earth, or the people that are in those spaces are being affected by them. So they also want to go. I'm finding some unusual things happening in terms of spirit, things you didn't think were ever possible, starting to come out in the spiritual realm. And, there is a situation I know of, but I can't talk about that yet, because it's kind of, at this point, the revelation or the confirmations haven't come out. But it's stuff like you would not think you ever had to deal with, you know, and then suddenly it's like, oh, that can actually happen.
Yeah.
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 It's one example I would give is like, you know, where I had an experience where I had to go into the pre-birth space for somebody and clear the karma they and I had together. And and they're coming back to the earth plane very soon. They haven't come back yet. But I had to be the one to go together with my guides, and I had 2 new guides for this. I don't know if I said this to you before, and they were like they look like Merlin, but they were dressed completely in white, long white flowing robes, and the hair, the was like wizard's hair, but it was long and white with these white hats. And they were on either side of me, helping me through going in and clearing the you know, the karma before the soul enters back into the birth space. So I thought, wow, that's weird. How does that happen? But we are being called to do many of these things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they sound like the Brotherhood of Light.
Okay.
Me. I mean, were they all male? Were they male?
Yes.
Yeah, they do. They sound like they could be. I mean, I don't know for sure, but they could be the Brotherhood of Light that have come in, and they are from higher realms.
Yeah. And at the time, I saw myself. Before I saw them, I saw myself in that realm, what I look like, whatever realm that is. I don't know, whatever realm. And they showed me how I am tall like that, and how they showed me me, and I was like, I could be taller than the house I live in, and I've got quite a high, you know, gabled roof over my house. And I thought, oh wow, okay, wow,
that's awesome.
It is awesome, but it's just that when you start to experience these things, you start to wonder, oh, okay, what's going on there? So interesting thing I wanted to talk about. I mean, we're all talking about the Mercury retrograde, but how was the Mercury retrograde for you? I mean, I have to ask this because you're a sister of light, and I think, you know, like I can say how mine was, but how was yours? Did you navigate it differently this time? How did it go?
Well, I actually think I was very blessed and very lucky. I seem to have navigated it very smoothly, but people around me haven't. So yeah, I've had people around me having trouble with electronics and water issues, and you know, things with the computer going wrong and lights going wrong, and I suppose one thing I did have actually was a flat tire the other day, but I just prayed to my team to get me to the garage, you know, and it's quite a way away. I suppose the garage is probably about 40 minutes away from where I live.
Wow.
And the tire pressure had gone down to 13, and I'm going, please, I'm picturing it being pumped up as I'm driving. So I got there fine.
Awesome.
So I prayed and prayed that I would be looked after, and I was. But so
that's that's really good. That is really good. Before the retrograde, I had an issue with the battery in the car, and I had to have the battery replaced. But then I look at it and I think, thank God it happened, because the battery was 8 years old, and normally battery lives, I think after 5 years or something, you have to replace it. So I thought it was really good. I've had probably one of the best Mercury retrogrades in all time. And I say it because I did have issues with technology, like calls failing suddenly, or the one day this computer just wouldn't go on. And it's always this computer that doesn't go on. It doesn't turn on. And then last time I had to change the position. This time even changing the position didn't work. And then I just put it back. And it happened just before I was doing an interview. You know, I set up the laptop and everything. And then I thought, let me turn it on again and see what happens. And there it was on. It come on. You know, and it's like, okay, right, you're just playing tricks with me, you little naughty planet. So that was it. I think one of the things that I was prepared for in this Mercury retrograde was I kind of put a lot of the series on the Great Awakening Generator. I put it on recess. We all took a well-earned time out of what we're doing, because energy work is quite taxing, isn't it? As you know.
Yes.
And so we did that, and I just felt it was such a good time for reflection, because that's what it is. The positive sides of the retrograde is to reflect, things come back, and then you review it. Things that you might still need to work on, come back and you review it. So I thought that was great. I enjoyed it for those reasons. Yeah, so I really did. I think this was a good Mercury retrograde. I didn't have anything majorly changing. However, I felt that I was evolving to something. I was coming to the realizations of things that I was refusing to do previously. So yeah, but I do know that other people were affected too. Like people around me had some big stuff going on. So
yeah. I mean, that's what I found. And I get what you mean about that feeling of evolving, within yourself. I definitely have had that over the last sort of couple of weeks, more so than before. But yeah, a definite change within myself to, I don't know, a feeling of calmness and a real feeling that everything's going to be all right, everything's cool, things are working out, we're moving up in frequency, and that everything that's happening around the world is happening to clear out the bad stuff, basically, which we have been living for many years.
Yeah, and I think what I'm finding is being more, I'm finding it easier to navigate this time if I'm more accepting of the circumstances. And one of the big messages that came through in the last few weeks for me was that everything, I mean, I know this, I've said this before, but in recent times, I have, for example, if something's uncomfortable, I haven't given it equal value as I would give it the same thing if it was comfortable. And I'm finding that it's almost like saying we must have, if it's comfortable, it's great. If it's uncomfortable, it's also great because it's meant to evolve and fashion and shape us, right? Because that's how balance. You can't know what it's like to be comfortable if you do not know what it is like to be uncomfortable.
That's so true. Yeah, that's absolutely so true. Yeah.
But it's a hard and it's a bitter pill to swallow because we have not been programmed like that.
No, we haven't. And the uncomfortable things that happen, they happen so we learn. We learn from them and grow, all part of growing when something really is really uncomfortable. And I found with my journey, especially when it comes to like spiritual things, and when I was younger, probably more in the physical world as well, I've had to go through things, and that's the only way I seem to learn because I've experienced it.
Definitely.
Definitely.
And sometimes we're going through things. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Were you going to say something?
That's okay. You carry.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Sometimes I'm finding I'm feeling more, and which I don't like anyway, because I don't really want to have to go through something so that later on I'm able to empathize with someone else. It feels like that empathetic experience, being empathetic means that you have experiences that are quite extreme. So when other people are going through it, you kind of can see that side of that. There isn't judgment or lack of understanding or anything like that. So and the shifts, oh my gosh. Since the Lionsgate portal, there were some big shifts. I felt some, wow, real moves.
Massive shifts actually that have happened, not just personally, but you can see things around the world, shifting.
Yep. I feel like I was talking to my friend Louise. Louise is currently on holiday in the south of France. And they hadn't been away for the last 3 years, as many people would have. She lives in England and she went to the south of France now, the last few days. And it's a weird feeling, she says, because she said she worried so much about so many things before she went. And then they took the 10-hour drive from England to the south of France. And except for the drive being a long, tiring one, everything was fine. She had worried about passports. She had worried about, like that specific passport. She was worried about, will there be health checks? Because all of this was coming through before she went. And it almost felt like she came out of a matrix and went into something different. And I'm feeling like, even when I observe people here in New Zealand who go away for a holiday and they come back, it's almost like they're going out of that bubble, because the bubble is the matrix, that bubble
right.
you're put into.
Yes, yes.
Because they go there and then they have a different experience. And then you think, oh my gosh, that's so different from the world I know.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but are you finding that people are no longer sharing stuff on social media like Telegram and WhatsApp? I have friends that are not even talking to me anymore, just as an ordinary conversation. I don't even know what's going on in their world. Everybody is in another world altogether.
Yeah.
Feels weird.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, it is totally like that. And what you're saying about the matrix, when you think about the shifts that humanity has been through and the growth that we've done and the higher frequency level that we've moved to, we literally are creating our own matrix. So you saying about everything that's going on around us now is our creation, our matrix, through our thoughts, feelings, and dreams and everything else. So when we step out of that into something completely different, that's when things flow, because we're stepping out of that net, if you like, of stuff which we've accumulated and built up energetically, which has then come into the physical. So when we step out of our comfort zone and do something completely different, it's almost like you're stepping out of a mini prison, because you kind of leave that home there for 2 weeks or whatever it is you're going away for, and you experience a lot of new things, and that in itself is such a good thing to do to help us grow, because then when we go back into that matrix, we're going back with a different mindset, with a different viewpoint, with a different alignment, a different emotions and everything, and then our own world starts to change, because we've gone back into it in a higher frequency. It's amazing actually how that can work.
Yeah, I love it. I'm looking forward to my experience now, because I'm looking forward to going out of my zone, because for so long we've done the same things over and over again, and then if going out and having an experience somewhere else and then coming back, you're like, oh, okay, I got out of that zone and I can see something and feel something different, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
So one of the things I talked about this week, or mentioned briefly, was I mentioned a few things because I started to think about people talking about various things, and like one of them was monad. We'll talk about monad another time, but I did put a link in the description box yesterday for what is your monad, what is your oversoul, and how that process works. And so if anybody was looking for it, they could find it in yesterday's video that I posted. But the thing is, I asked, I keep hearing people talk about the Intergalactic Council, and I see I'm already having this attitude about Intergalactic Council because they are channeling them, they are talking to them, and I was like, who are these dudes or dudettes? I really need to find out, because what is it that I need to get from them? Because everybody says they channel them or they talk to them, whoever's talking, whoever's having this experience, and I really wanted to understand who they are and what exactly is their purpose. And then Diana Cooper, no kidding, right? 3 days later, put out a video explaining who or what the Intergalactic Council is. And I thought that was like, you can't make this stuff up, right? Yeah. How does it get any other than that in the, But you were saying something interesting about the Intergalactic Council. So please tell us.
Yes, I have actually been taken up once to view them. I can only say I viewed them. I wasn't sitting around the table with them or anything like that. I got taken up in astral form, if you like, by two beings who I couldn't really see what they looked like, but I knew that there was one either side of me who got taken up into this huge room with a massive table in the middle.
Yep.
And I sort of had to stand back and just view what was going on. And what I saw was many, many different beings from different planets, all sat around, and they were talking about, and I couldn't see them talking, so they weren't talking, they were doing telepathy about the earth. And what I saw in the middle of the table was like the earth suspended in a beam of light, and they were all discussing what to do with the earth, what was going on with the earth, and what they could do, you know, and stuff like that. But it was literally such a quick, for some reason I was shown, I don't know why I was even shown this, but I was shown this, and I was stood back watching. So they didn't, well, they must have known that I was there, but they just took no notice of me. And then after that, I was brought back down into my body. So I can only imagine I was shown that to perhaps reassure me that there are a lot of beings that are overseeing what's going on the earth. They will not interfere unless they absolutely have to. And like once they have interfered before, and that was when, I think we spoke about it before, didn't we, once, about nuclear weapons?
Yes.
And they shut down the nuclear weapons. Yeah, so I think I was shown that probably for reassurance that we're not on our own, that are actually, there is many different races that are watching what's going on down here. And it is a process that has to unfold, because us humans are so powerful, but we don't know it. We've been pushed down over hundreds of years and made to believe that we're not much, that this is all there is to us. But actually, if people decide to develop themselves in, some people call it spiritually, but it's in frequency, in vibration, in higher consciousness. I mean, with some of the stuff that I am able to do, I know that without a doubt within myself that I've tapped into a lot of the other things that I can do. I'm not just this human here. Yes. I am much more than that, and I know that everyone is. So I think that I was shown the Galactic Federation probably because they could see what I've been doing and who I am. And of course, the ET contact that I've had with many different beings, I can say, that I know it's my mission to help other people to realize who they are and how powerful they are. Nobody is just this physical being. And if only people realize just how powerful they actually are. Our powerfulness is as powerful as God. Yes. If we fully stepped into it, because we've got that running through us. And ET know that we have. They know that we're really powerful, and they must be looking down on some of the things that are going on down here, shaking their head and going, what are these humans doing? Why don't they tap into who they are and actually expand their consciousness and expand themselves into these other realms of dimensions and just see what they can do? I mean, we are
I feel like the starseed families, the galactic communities, ETs are watching us. And yes, I agree, they're watching us. They're watching what's going on here on Earth, and very in tune with all the happenings and things that are going on here, right? The Intergalactic Council, coming back to them, and I'm going to add to what you've just said about the nuclear, when we talked about nuclear weapons and why I think we're part of this. The Intergalactic Council, for example, is apparently some of the members are Jesus, his collective of 33, Almora, Kuan Yin, Commander Ashtar, and who else do I remember from this now? I can't remember. I remembered it just now and I couldn't, but anyway, and I can't right now. But I've been saying for years now that I'm part of Commander Ashtar's fleet. I don't know how I know that, but I know that. And coming back to you saying that we are so much more than what we are, or what we think we are, and that we have, we have the same powers as we allocate to God. And this is the thing about it. When the galactic community obviously saw what had happened at the end of the Second World War, with all that nuclear weaponry and the atomic bomb and all of that. I understand if you listen to anything Dolores Cannon was talking about, or she wrote about, that post the Second World War, the 3 waves of volunteers appeared on the earth. So many of us are part of we are the waves of volunteers that came at different times. Some came early, straight after the war, and then some came later on, maybe late 60s, early 70s, and then I think in the 80s was the last wave. But we came here to do this thing. And so we came here and we put our hands up because many of us, more of us than we actually realize, are galactic warriors. We probably came here thinking we need to come here to make sure this doesn't happen. And warriors doesn't mean that we're at war all the time. It means perhaps it's about the light that we carry, the light, the frequency that we are, right? Or the dimensions that we come from, because we are in 12 dimensions at this point in time, right? Is what I'm understanding. So that is, we talk about parallel lifetimes and dimensions or whatever. So I think we are here for that. I also feel like because we don't fully understand the contract for being on Earth at the moment, we feel more small than we feel big. And I don't mean that in terms of body size, but I mean in terms of abilities. We feel like we are this little person, and what can we do? But remember, I guess with each of us having our own light, shining our own light, becomes a collective light anyway. So we don't have to do anything major. We can just maybe hold the space and light, right? So I think
right.
Pretty interesting. I'm seeing more and more there are people that are awakening to themselves, who they really are.
Yes, they are indeed. Yeah, it is. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful time to be here, actually. Just talking about, the oversoul and stuff like that. I liken it to, say, my spark of light that's within the body is only a very tiny piece of who I actually am as a whole. And I class it like a diamond. So this is a facet of a larger diamond. And there are many facets that are already in other bodies, some in this timeline, some in others, some off planet, some all over the place, in different dimensions, all sorts, doing their work. But we all belong to that central larger diamond. And again, you could look at it like that, or you could look at it like that central larger diamond actually is the God source, or the mass consciousness of God, which holds everything and all creation within it, absolutely everything, past, present, future, now, within it. And we can tap into, because we've got that spark of light within ourselves, which is part of that, we can actually tap into that God source at any time we wish. We are part of it. So it's understanding, and this is where that you don't have to feel that it's just you that's really powerful. You are actually connected to that higher consciousness, for all the people out there that are wondering. And so we've got the backing of that huge, beautiful, unconditional love, major, higher consciousness, massive sort of brain consciousness that holds everything within us.
That's right.
So yes, so when this is what I say to some people, Have you looked at who you are? So I'm saying to the public, not necessarily to you, but have you looked at who you are on a spiritual level or on a soul level? Because but we can tune into one aspect of ourselves, and when I do healings, through doing the healings on such a regular basis, I have seen one aspect of me as a healer, but in another realm, and that is that I see many others with me too, that I am this very tall, about 7 foot, just pure light frequency, no physical body.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's who I see myself as when I'm doing a healing. But in other aspects, depending on what I'm doing, I have also seen myself as an ET. I've seen myself as, this is going to sound silly, but a real strong connection to Jesus.
Oh no, it's not silly. That's actually, that's pretty normal, I think, to have a strong connection to Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, and almost like I am him, or I've been him, or he's within me. One of the things, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know 2 or 3 other people that actually say exactly what you said. And that's the thing about it. There are people that just read, oh, Jesus is one of the people on the Intergalactic Council, by the way. And so is Mary Magdalene. And it's interesting because she has come in to replace somebody else. So even within that Intergalactic Council, it would seem that they have people come and go based on whatever the purpose is at the time for that soul. I feel it's really nice for us to have a clearer understanding of the galactics and how all of this is we are connected to all of that. And that is why, I guess, for me, the question of the Intergalactic Council came up, because I thought, oh, they should I ask the Intergalactic Council for some stuff? When we talked about the monad, when David Esri was talking about the monad, because I first heard of this when Diana Cooper spoke of it, and Tim Wilde has spoken about it as well. But David Esri spoke, and he gave a very simple explanation of it, and he said it's the soul, it's soul split into something called the monad. The monad then split into 12 parts, which were the souls, and each of them split into 12 souls further. And we are one of those 12, right? At that level. And I started to feel like, okay, it makes sense, right? And I started to feel like, I think I'm going to ask my other 11 soul people to help me out here.
Yes,
because I think you can.
Yes,
right?
You can. Yeah, for sure.
Because they are apparently not just in this, they're not necessarily in the same dimension. They're not necessarily on Earth. They can be on other planets. But this is likely for us, because I mean, I'm also part of that group. They are probably calling me to help, and I don't even know about it because I'm not consciously aware of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I thought, oh, why not ask them for some assistance? Because we are of the same soul group. I mean, you know. Yeah, and he was pointing out that whilst we say soulmates are romantic, but we know that not all soulmates are romantic, right? I mean, you can have a friend who's a soulmate, and that kind of thing. Yeah, very interesting topic. And I'm hoping that now that we are talking about the Intergalactic Council, that they're going to start making us more aware of themselves. If they're in our space, which they probably are, that's why we're talking about them, we are probably going to start connecting more with them, because I was like, oh, who are these dudettes? Hey, come on, man. You only talking to those people? What about me? Can you tell I want it all when it comes to the esoteric? I want it.
Yeah, me too.
I want it all. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, for goodness sake, who wants to be lying in bed doing nothing but sleeping at night when there's so much fun to be had, you know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, you know what? Going back to, you know, tapping into our other parts of ourselves. I think it's a really good idea to do that. And I'm going to do that and just see what happens too. I'm going to make that my mission, to actually do that and ask to connect in with them and and for us to all join up consciously so that we can share energy, share information and all that. But I also know that you can tap into all of who you were in past lives, and you can ask for all of those skills that you perhaps were. I don't know, you might have been a herbalist, you might have been a carpenter, you know, whatever it is in all those past lives, and you can ask for that information to be brought forward into the here and now as well.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you can be all this absolutely uniquely creative person who can do so many things. And that's not to say, it's not about boasting, and maybe it's a little bit, but it's about saying, I can do these things. I am self-sufficient. I can do that. I know how to do that. I don't know how I know, but I know how to do that. Now I want to say this, Diana Cooper, and I know I'm, this is not name dropping. These are my teachers. So I learn a lot from these people. Speaking of us connecting all into the higher realms, Diana Cooper is running a workshop on the 22nd of October, 2023, where we are all going to connect with our monads. So that means you're going to connect with the souls, you're going to connect with the oversouls and the monad, and collectively they're going to do that. So it is something, she's doing this event in Portugal, but they have decided that they want to do it also as part of an online thing. So, you know, you can go on, I think you could pay as little as £11 to be part of that. And so even if the time, it doesn't suit you, you can do it later on, because later on you're still going to be connecting. It's not going to break the connection or anything like that. And it is about shifting and helping people who are not awakened yet or whatever. All of us, if we do that together and we can connect, all our monads connect together, what's going to happen on planet Earth?
That's right. That's going to be majorly powerful.
She's going to be majorly powerful. We are going to become majorly aware of who we truly are, and empowered to do the things. You know, I think suffering has been too long a thing on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And ignorance.
Absolutely. It's our time.
Yeah, it's about time that it changed, right? And you know this for all your incarnations, because you've probably been in Lemuria, in Atlantis, you know, Mu time, whatever. And we've gone through this so many times, because a lot of these things feel really, you know, this awakening process that has been this last 5 years or whatever. Some things we've really, really been pushed downwards. And I don't mean from the outside, I mean from within ourselves. Some of the challenges we've had to stand up, to be ourselves, to come into that knowledge, just stuff that we're asleep about, or we've been carrying on with all these past, you know, in the past or parallel lifetimes or whatever. We really had to shake them and shift them out. And so I think we want to say now it's time to just clear it all and come into the space that we need to be in. So anyway, I'm a little bit impatient, so I say these things. I don't know.
No, look, I totally agree with you 100%. And you know, for the mass humanity, we have been programmed so much for so many generations to believe that we're not much, that to break that programming actually takes quite a bit for some. I would say for even myself, you know, it's over the years, it's taken quite a bit to step out of the comfort zone, because this is what it is. We've been programmed so much that we're in this comfort zone of just staying in this little box or just trundling along this little life. And we've had fear about stepping out of that box or out of that matrix, like we were talking about earlier. We've had fear about stepping out of that, but it's time now. And if we don't, this is the thing now, if we don't, people are going to get squeezed. So when I say squeeze, the universe is going to squeeze them. It means that they're going to go through events, feelings, emotions, physical things, whatever it is, that is going to force them to come out of that matrix, that that belief system and stuff like that. And this is what I found over the years, that many people, because we're all healers, we're all psychics, we can all be mediums. This is what I believe anyway. Everyone has that opening within them that they can be whoever they want to be. And we've been programmed over the years to not believe that. And what I've found over the years is that to help people wake up, unfortunately, many times people have had to go through either a personal near-death experience, a family near-death experience, an accident of some form, a massive trauma of some form. Sometimes it happens that someone might, I don't know, a younger person perhaps might take psychedelics or something like that, and that immediately opens them up, because I've had people come to me also in that scenario that literally woken up overnight to the point where they've gone from seeing nothing and just being, you know, who we believe, or well, who a lot of people think they are, to all of a sudden seeing ghosts, spirit, orbs, spacecrafts, ETs in their house and in their room. And I mean, this, you know, one person in particular I can think of that came to me that really needed help, and thank goodness someone else who knew about me recommended, because he thought he was going nuts. He thought that he had a brain tumor. So he went and he went and had a brain scan, because he wasn't even spiritual before. He went and had a brain scan and they couldn't find anything wrong, of course. And then he came to see me, or he phoned me up, and a friend of mine recommended that he come here. And I immediately said to him, don't worry. This is perfectly normal for someone who has had an instant awakening. And it's just now about trying to traverse everything and calm everything down, realign yourself back into yourself, get grounded, and, you know, slowly start to work with this extra knowledge that has come through, and not be frightened of it. And now it really awoken this guy up. He's traveled the world, he's been to Jerusalem, he's become very spiritual. He's also been and helped with an orphanage somewhere in some other country. It's just completely turned his life around.
So that's a good direction to have gone in, right? Because it could have been so different. But people wake up in so many different ways. It's like what's going on around the world right now, and the COVID thing and all that stuff, that just has woken so many people up, not perhaps to their spiritual selves, but to the corruption and the, you know, the once who we thought we could once trust, we can't, who were meant to be looking after us. You know. And it's caused us to stop and think about everything, because for me, there's very little. I just take it face value. I look at it and think, oh no, I'm not so sure, and I'm never going to take anything at face value again. Never again. And thank goodness for that, because I think whilst there's nothing wrong with saying I don't have a point of view on it, because if somebody's saying it, so they're saying it, so well, okay, let's see what happens. It's just about being discerning to say, how does my gut feel about that? Does it have a feeling? And, you know, if it has no feeling, then it has no feeling. But if it has a feeling, is it saying it's right with me, or it doesn't? And I mean, you know, all those years ago when we heard about the book written by Nostradamus, and if you understand the book of Revelation in the Bible and the mark of the beast and all of that, if people really knew anything about those things, when we were suddenly in the pandemic and all of this stuff was going on in terms of a certain, you know, shot, it sounded very much, look, I'm a Bible college student, a student of theology, Christian theology, and I knew of that book written by Nostradamus, like even when I think I must have been 12 years old when I've heard about that book, very young, but I'd heard about it because my sister had told us about it. A teacher at school had told her about it, or the class about it. And she just wanted to share it. So I was like, so I knew about it. I'd known about that, but it suddenly started to sound so familiar about that mark of the beast, what it was, like how the advertising, the marketing around it, all of that, and how it was proposed as the answer. And I felt, wow, this really sounds a lot like that mark of the beast. And, you know, in many ways, it needed to happen. It's not, I said it in another one of the program series that we run here. Thank God for the pandemic is what I said, or probably I said it to you the last time, but I need to say I didn't mean it in a way because it's a very sensitive topic. People lost family in the pandemic, right? People died in the pandemic. I don't know if the numbers of how many died are correct, but people died. People died for various reasons. And so I wasn't being insensitive to that, just that it brought out a lot more. Whilst we had a lot of loss of life, according to the statistics, but it also it brought things to the forefront that we just didn't know was sitting in the background, you know? So interesting times. Now
it is. I just want to say this, talking about the pandemic.
Yes.
I dabble in a little bit of shares. Anyway, I thought, I'll just have a look at what my shares are doing. So anyway, I'm with Sharesies.
Yes.
And I had a little look last night, and then I thought, I'll just have a look to see what's doing really well. Guess what was one of the top? Pfizer.
Oh, right.
Their profit margins had gone up so much, and so had Google, and so had one of the others. I can't remember the other one, but anyway, they were like right up there, and I thought, well, that makes sense. Yeah,
it makes sense. It makes sense. And this is the thing for the people that refuse to see these things. I guess for me, I have to accept that some people are never going to wake up to this. They're not. Perhaps it's the soul contract.
Could be.
And also, whilst I know people that are never, like I spoke to somebody a couple of weeks ago who said, "Oh, I can't talk to you about the shot," and I was like, "Why?" Well, because I know we have different opinions, and I'm like, okay. What do you think it is like? Well, I took it all, and you won't have one. And I was like, okay, but why did you take it? Well, I was told to take it. And I was like, what do you mean? I was told to take it. Who told you to take it? Oh, the propaganda, I suppose. And I was like, and you took it? You said propaganda, and is propaganda a good word or a bad word in your what is the vibration of that word? You know. And I said, I'm really surprised that you did this, because I've always thought of you as a person who had sovereignty when it came to your body, that you put it first. You understood and you wanted what's best for it. So your dogmatic way of following through with this surprises me. But again, I had to be reminded that was not all. There's this issue of soul contract. He's awakened about so many other things, like our politics and things like that. But when it comes to this thing, he's not. And I have to respect that that's where that individual is. And so it's something that we all are having to learn. And I guess the sooner we accept that some people are never going to awaken because they're not meant to, then we stop having these conversations, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you're right. Some people won't. And it won't be because they're not, that they haven't got a soul or anything. It'll be because free will us humans have, and their will is so into what it's been taught over the last whole of their lives, that they're trapped basically in that way forward. And you know, again, some people will have a instant awakening, and other people just won't, because the will is so strong that they're stuck in that.
Yeah. I think there's another wave coming up this month. There'll be another wave of awakening again.
I think so.
The efforts for awakening to transform the planet is inadvertently going to affect it's going to affect the humans that live on here, because anything that's happening to the planet, we're affected by it.
Yes.
And I think Pam Gregory is talking about doing a 15-minute mindfulness practice on a specific time. She's calling for the world to do it.
Yes.
And then this thing that Diana Cooper's doing in October, where we all tune into our monads, that's going to be something else. And perhaps people are getting ideas to do these things now, because that is the next step for us.
Yeah.
Because we're not anywhere far behind right now. I feel like something's happened in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
That's really shifted us and propelled us way forward than we ever were. And it was not comfortable. The shifting was not comfortable, but it happened nonetheless. That's, that's my take on it.
Yeah,
so I'm conscious
I think so too. Yeah.
Sorry. I'm conscious of time. One thing more I wanted to ask you before we go, because I just kind of mentioned this as well.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know your experience, because you're so into the galactics and the cosmos and stuff like that, right? Yeah. So what came up on some of my social media in the last week were the 2 suns that are being observed in the sky. People are saying there are 2 suns in the sky. Have you heard about it?
I have heard about it. I haven't seen it myself, but I have heard about it.
Yeah.
What do you think it is?
Well. I looked, and there was someone who had posted about it in 2021.
That's right.
And then there was someone who's been posting about it in more recent times. So it's been going on for a while. Yeah. My experience, when I think about it, because I always look at the sun, at the rising sun, and I have seen 2 suns ages ago, way beyond 2021. Yes. And if you look at the sun with your naked eye, you can see the sun, and you can see another sun beyond it. So you can see that they just behind each other. Yeah. And someone posted that they could see 2 suns, one on either side of the sky.
I think I've seen that online.
Yes, but I feel like I have a vague memory of seeing this too. And I'm not sure. And because I was talking to my daughter about it, and I said to her, people are talking about this now, but I've already seen more than 1 sun in the sky. And she said, yes, you have been talking about this for a long, long time. I mean, even when you look at the sky, the sun now, this morning I looked at the sun at sunrise, and you could see the other one, just not far behind it. But if you close your eyes after looking at the sun, you can see other celestial bodies around it. If you close your eyes after just staring at it, and you'll see other celestial bodies, and they are different. There are different directions. Sometimes it might present with the sun is there, and you've got other things around it, or other celestial bodies around it, or it might be above the sun. So I've wondered, what are those other celestial bodies we see? Is it just because it's a reflection of staring into the sun and then closing your eyes, and then you can see the sun in various spots around it, right? So I think it's if we see it, are we seeing the central sun now? Is it possible that we are having a visibility of the central sun because we have evolved there to that point?
Possibly. But by saying what you just said, you just reminded me of a thing that I watched even before the pandemic, actually. So it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And it was 2 scientists that aren't spiritual at all. They were actual scientists. And they were talking about the way that the planets are in our solar system, that the way that they are, and things that have happened through history like every 26,000 years, every 12,000 years even. There's normally a big event of some form.
Yes.
They were saying that they feel, now obviously they can't prove it because they haven't got telescopes that look that far ahead, but they feel that there is either a planet or a sun that's in a trajectory around our sun or connected to our solar system in some way. And because of the way the planets are in our solar system, this other, whether it's a sun or a planet, is so far out on a large, like hugely circular, what do you call it when it moves in a certain pattern around the sun? There's a word for it.
Orbits. Does it orbit? I don't know.
Yeah, that's orbit. It. Yeah, a hugely long orbit, which is actually, I think they said every 12,000 years.
Yep.
That it comes back around, and it's coming back around right now, is what they thought. So, of course,
right.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that Nibiru, that has been seen in the sky, is this planet. So it could be a sun that's actually, or it could be a planet which is large enough, which is coming in behind our sun.
Yeah.
So that's why it looks like two suns.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah. And then if you look back at history, about people that have studied the ice cores and history, and also the prophecies in ancient civilizations, they have said that every 12,000 years, some people say it's 26,000 years, so I can only imagine there's two separate things going on.
It is two separate things, because I think if I'm not mistaken, I think something happens at 12,000 years and something else happens at 26,000 years. And I read this so many years ago that I can't remember the exact things. And they were kind of explaining the Mayan calendar, because the Mayan calendar has got something to do with the 12,000 years, I think, right? Yeah.
And what's happening now is that Greg Braden, because I've listened to quite a few of his things, and he's really fascinating to listen to.
Absolutely.
And the knowledge that he has is brilliant. Yeah.
Yes.
And he was saying that by studying the ice cores and ancient civilizations and things like that, that we're actually in that 12,000 year period right now.
Yep.
And so this is why we're starting to see huge shifts, not only in the planet and in planet Earth, but all the planets in our solar system. And we're also in the photon belt, but also there's huge shifts amongst humanity and the animal kingdoms, because if you look, as much as it's sad, but if you look the last sort of 30 odd years, there's been going on, not a lot of people know this, but a mass distinction. What's the right word?
Extinction.
Yeah. A mass extinction of several different animals species.
Yes.
And that's been happening for at least 35 years.
That's right.
And of course there's going to be new species that will be found also. But that's all part of the big shift that we're in right now.
Yes, indeed.
But it could be to do with that sun.
It could be. It could be to do with the sun. I'm conscious of time, but I wanted to talk about one more thing. I want to talk about a few other things, but we want to keep this according to the time. Dragons. So the dragons have come back, right? They've come back into my space, and I have been doing I've been bringing the dragons back into, because I have Light Language Messenger is a channel, my personal channel. And I've been doing light language messages through the Mercury Retrograde and then posting them on both channels, because my guides have been asking me to do this. Fantastic. And so we do, and we've been doing, talking about dragons. So the dragons, I understand, chose to stay sleeping on the planet until we started the awakening in 2012, when they were offered ascension to the seventh dimension after the last incarnation Atlantis and whatever happened in that incarnation that destroyed it.
Yeah.
And they chose to stay here for us, to be here to support us. And so we've been working with them. And so working with the dragons and just sort of invoking the earth dragon. I've done invoking the earth dragon, invoking a personal dragon. I feel like the dragons, we're talking about this other sun as well. Is it possible that that's the reason why we can see these things too? Because I mean, I don't know, the dragons and they're probably working with, like you're doing clearing on property. And one of the things that came up, yeah, they do, right? Because they are responsible for putting down the ley lines of the earth. Mm-hmm. And from what I'm understanding from this book that Diana Cooper's written, is that they clear all that negative energy. Like even when people die and you know, they die and they have all these negative feelings or whatever, it goes back into the earth. The dragons clear all of that. So they must be doing a lot of work here, especially with more clearings happening and all of that, right?
Absolutely. So when I do a house clearing,
yes,
each house has a guard or a protector, if you like. And I've found that a lot of the houses, the protectors that have been there for actually a long time, they're actually quite tired. And that's why the house has then started to develop issues and things happening.
Right.
And it's almost like that the keeper of the house is so tired that he can't keep up the protection any longer. So what I found is that I've asked him or whatever I find that is looking after the house, that it's time for them to retire or step down so they can be re-energized. But what more often than not, what comes in is a dragon that actually take their place. And it's huge.
Yep.
And sometimes it's a golden dragon, sometimes it's a green dragon, sometimes a brown dragon, but they all are there to protect that house and whoever's in that house. And amazing energy. So I work with dragons like that, and I have worked with them when I've done land clearings as well. And brilliant for coming in and just transmuting not very good energy, because of course they burn it.
They do. I'm just like fascinated with the whole thing because I've always felt connected to dragons, even as a child, you know.
Me too.
And suddenly they've been in my space now for a couple of years, and then we're talking about dragons and doing the light language sessions with the dragon. I mean, I don't know what dragon language is, but I just do my light language, and whatever comes out comes out. But I know other people that are actually channeling dragon light language, and it's it's different. But yes, the character references for dragons is kind of distorted through stories and fairy tales and fables and all of that, right? Because dragons are not, they are meant to, they are protectors. They are here for our benefit, for humans' benefit. And we have to start opening our minds to think about that, because I was saying to my friend today, who really does believe in angels and archangels, but thinks dragons, she would think of a dragon as a witch, as a bad thing. And I was saying to her, the dragons are actually elementals. They come from the same dimension as the angels.
That's right.
And so just like unicorns, because she does not like horses because her daughters are so into the horses. And I was saying to her, people that are really into horses have a strong connection to the unicorns. And the unicorns are seventh dimensional, just like the angels are. And she was like, oh, this is like really surprised. And so I feel like it's going to be wonderful to see how these things pan out, because I can hear the dragon right now flying about. And you know that whistle in the air that you get when the dragon's flying about? I can hear it because I think we will see that with our naked eyes.
Yeah. You know? Oh my God. I really hope so. I mean, sometimes some of the clouds, if you look at some of the clouds, they actually look like dragons.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I've seen that a lot, sort of over the last several years. Every so often, the sky's full of dragons, in the clouds.
A couple of weeks ago. So I just want to talk about that quickly. A couple of weeks ago, it's interesting you said that, because I was walking the dog and I must have seen 3 dragon clouds, like within the space of half an hour. And I thought to myself, what's that? It looks like a dragon. And
they're here.
In the book, she says like dragons will present themselves. You'll see them in the clouds. You'll see that they're gone, but the essence of them is taken the shape of the cloud. So so go on, tell me what else you wanted to say.
I'll just say this before we leave. It's about dragons, and if you look at the history of George and the dragon, he slayed the dragon, right?
Yes.
This was a story I heard when I was a kid, and I was so upset that George slayed the dragon.
This is St. George of England, right?
It is, yes.
Okay.
And I was really upset that he slayed the dragon.
Yep.
But anyway, when you think about the programming that has taken place, and they want to deflect us away from the dragons, because the dragons are majorly powerful and huge protectors. So we've been programmed to think of the dragons as evil and scary and all of that, when actually that's just a program they've put in to humanity to stop us from connecting with them. And it's time we connect with them, because it's going to fire us up as well, being connected to the dragon.
Absolutely. And knowing that you have the protection of the dragon, because the dragon is waiting, like I did with one of the light language messages, the dragons are waiting for us to ask them to come in. Right?
They are.
And it's not just about, I want to serve you, but also us saying, I need you to serve me. It's a matter of, without having the need, they will not serve their purpose.
That's right. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Looking forward to dragon flying.
Yes. Me too. That's why I like Game of Thrones so much. It's the dragon queen that I'm like, oh my God, she's brilliant.
I've never watched it. I know that everybody's crazy, but I've never watched it. However, and I'm afraid of heights, but although I don't mind flying, I can fly, but I have seen myself on my dragon so many times going and doing cartwheels and flips in the air, and I've been totally fine, because that dragon never lets me go. It always protects me. So there you go.
Yeah.
Well, Ginny, thank you so much for coming today. You're running a workshop in the near future? Are you doing
I'm working on a workshop. Working on one. Yeah.
Okay. Can people register for it or yet, or what's
it's not quite ready yet, but as soon as it's ready, it's going to be, because it's for clearing, it's going to be probably people that are healers and people that are already doing this sort of work. So it won't be for newbies. Because it's a highly responsible thing, and the process of doing it and what people might come across or come up against. So I'm working on that. I've got a friend helping with that, because I'm not very disciplined in sitting down and writing up things, but she's helping me, so it shouldn't be too long. And I'm thinking about starting a Patreon. And I'm going to call it Light Rangers, because that's who we are. We're actually Rangers of Light now. And I really want to get that going. So I think I'm probably going to do that very soon. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. I just saw something come up on your channel, on YouTube about that. And I thought, let me just ask you here. And so tell everybody where, I know that we can find you on YouTube, Virginia Jones. So tell us elsewhere, where else people can contact you if they wanted to a clearing for their home or for their, for themselves, or anything else that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So my email address is ginnyspiritualart@gmail.com. You'll find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook too. I'm on Instagram, obviously my YouTube. I'm still working on 2 websites. I'm working on one of them, which is taking me ages, but I've got someone else now working on another website for me. So one of those is Ginny. One of those is, I have to think about it. ginnyjoneshealing.love. That's one of them. And ginnyjoneshealer.com. But again, they're not actually up and running yet. So hopefully soon.
That's great.
But yeah. Email me. If anyone is needing help, please email me. It's ginnyspiritualart@gmail.com. And if you like, pop it in the link below. That's
I will certainly put it in the link below so anybody can contact you if they need some assistance. Well, you're very welcome back here, as you know.
Thank you.
I love the conversations. It's lovely to talk to you. It's so good. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll catch you next time. Obviously I am going to repeat the invitation, and wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us, whether you caught this live or you'll catch it later on. Thank you for that, and we really appreciate you watching. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Bye-bye.